Welcome back to BullionIQ, the channel where we cut through the noise and talk about what actually matters in finance, crypto, and the future of money. If you're someone who wants to understand where the system is really heading, not just price candles, not just hype, but real adoption, real power shifts, and real money flows, then you're in the right place. Today's topic is a big one, and I don't say that lightly. Ripple has just landed a massive new partnership. XRP is reacting, and at the same time we're hearing some very honest words about the banking system that perfectly explain why this deal matters so much right now. Before we go deeper, let me ask you something. If you genuinely like learning about Ripple, XRP, and the infrastructure side of crypto, not memes, not empty promises, then type X in the comment section and make sure you smash that like button. It tells me you want more of this kind of analysis, and it helps this message reach more people who need to hear it. Now let's get into it, because what happened here is not small. Ripple has officially partnered with DXC Technology, and this is a name you do not ignore. DXC is a Fortune 500 global IT services provider. They are not a startup. They are not experimenting. They work directly with the largest banks and institutions in the world. This partnership alone should tell you something very important. Ripple is no longer knocking on the door of traditional finance. It is already inside the building. Here's why this matters. DXC is integrating Ripple's institutional-grade blockchain technology into its Hogan core banking platform. That platform supports around $5 trillion in deposits and serves roughly 300 million accounts globally. Pause for a second and really let that sink in. We are not talking about future potential users. We are talking about existing banking infrastructure that already touches hundreds of millions of people and trillions of dollars. What makes this even more powerful is how this integration works. Banks do not need to rip out or disrupt their existing systems. The solution bridges legacy financial systems with enterprise blockchain solutions in a seamless way. That is the holy grail for institutions. Banks hate disruption. They hate risk. Ripple and DXC are offering them a way to adopt digital asset custody, programmable payments, and tokenization without breaking what already works. This is exactly how real adoption happens. As an XRP holder, this is the kind of development you want to see. Not hype, not tweets, not rumors, but press releases, enterprise partners, and real-world use cases. DXC and Ripple are enabling regulated financial institutions to custody, transfer, and manage digital assets at scale. That includes payments, tokenized assets, and on-chain finance, all while staying compliant. This is not anti-bank. This is pro-evolution. Now look at who DXC already works with. We're talking about names like Amazon through AWS, Dell, Google, HP, IBM, Microsoft, Oracle, Red Hat, Salesforce, SAP, and many more. These are not random logos. These companies form the backbone of global enterprise technology. By connecting the XRPL through Ripple Payments and Ripple Custody into this ecosystem, Ripple is positioning XRP and RLUSD right at the center of institutional finance. This is why I keep saying Ripple is playing a completely different game. While most crypto projects are still trying to get noticed, Ripple is quietly embedding itself into the systems that already move global money. This is what dominance looks like, not on Twitter, but in infrastructure. And this brings us to something else that was said recently, which actually explains the resistance crypto has faced for years. Eric Trump openly criticized the banking sector, saying banks have been doing everything they can to block crypto legislation, and honestly, this shouldn't surprise anyone. For decades, banks have controlled how and when money moves. Ever wondered why you can't send a wire transfer after 5 p.m. on a Friday? It's not because the technology doesn't exist. It's because holding your money benefits them. Crypto threatens that model. Instant settlement, self-custody, programmable payments, all of this reduces the control banks have over idle capital. So yes, there has been pushback. But here's the key shift. Crypto is no longer a complete threat. It's now something banks want to participate in on their terms. That's exactly what we're seeing now. Banks don't want to stop crypto entirely. They want the best parts of it, and Ripple understands this better than anyone. Instead of fighting the system head-on, Ripple is upgrading it from the inside. Right now, the market is reacting cautiously. We're seeing some green, both in crypto and in stocks. The Dow even rallied strongly after geopolitical tensions eased. But let me be clear. This is not about short-term price moves. This could be a fake-out. Markets can turn fast. What really matters is the foundation being built underneath. Deals like this one with DXC don't show their full impact overnight. They show their impact over months and years as systems go live, institutions on board, and volume slowly shifts on-chain. And when you step back and ask yourself a simple question, who else in this industry is making moves at this scale? The answer becomes very clear. This is not financial advice. These are my professional observations as someone who studies market structure, adoption, and institutional behavior. And from where I'm sitting, Ripple is positioning itself exactly where the future of finance is heading. Let's dive deeper into why this Ripple DXC partnership could be a game changer, not just for XRP, but for the entire crypto ecosystem and global finance. One of the biggest challenges for blockchain adoption in banks has always been integration risk. Banks manage billions or even trillions of dollars every day. Any disruption in their core systems can cost millions or even billions in operational losses. That's why many blockchain projects struggle to move beyond pilot programs. They look great on paper, but don't fit into existing infrastructure. Ripple's approach is different. By integrating directly into DXC's Hogan core banking platform, banks can now leverage blockchain technology without touching their mission-critical systems. This is the kind of seamless integration that turns cautious experimentation into real adoption. The numbers alone make this monumental. With 300 million accounts and $5 trillion in deposits now able to access Ripple-enabled blockchain services, we are talking about scale that few crypto projects can ever touch. Imagine being able to bridge fiat systems with blockchain-based settlement across hundreds of millions of users in real time, securely, and without creating friction. That is not theoretical. That is happening, and it fundamentally changes how institutional finance interacts with crypto. XRP is no longer just a speculative asset. It becomes a utility tool for real-world liquidity and payments at the enterprise level. Stablecoins, particularly RLUSD in this case, are also a key piece of this puzzle. Banks don't want price volatility in their daily operations. They want predictable, stable digital assets that can move value instantly. XRP complements this by providing liquidity and settlement efficiency between different currencies or systems, while RLUSD provides the stability banks need for compliance and accounting. This dual-layer system creates a complete solution for enterprise-grade blockchain adoption, and it positions Ripple ahead of almost every other project in the space. Eric Trump's comments about the banking sector highlight the reason why this kind of partnership is so critical. For decades, large banks have benefited from inefficiency in the payment system. Delayed settlement windows, limited transfer times, and opaque processing allowed banks to profit from idle capital. Essentially, banks could arbitrage your money without your knowledge. Crypto challenges this model by enabling instant settlement, transparency, and programmable finance. This is why banks initially resisted adoption. Blockchain threatens the traditional profit model. Now, however, Ripple is showing banks a way to embrace the technology while maintaining compliance and control. It's not a threat anymore, it's an upgrade. Let's talk about regulatory clarity. For crypto to move beyond speculation and become fully integrated into banking infrastructure, rules must be clear. Ripple's work with DXC and institutional partners shows regulators that crypto solutions can be compliant and secure at scale. That's important because once regulatory frameworks are established, adoption can accelerate dramatically. The upcoming Clarity legislation, along with potential Senate Banking Committee approvals, could be a catalyst for exponential growth in institutional participation. Another point to consider is the long-term market impact. While short-term price movements can be volatile, some green today, some pull back tomorrow, the real story is structural adoption. When hundreds of millions of bank accounts are connected to blockchain-based payment rails, liquidity demand rises organically, XRP becomes a critical tool for interbank settlement, and RLUSD becomes a widely trusted, stable asset. These dynamics cannot be replicated by hype alone. This is infrastructure-driven growth, and history shows that infrastructure adoption often precedes massive valuation gains. Think about it this way. Ripple is not chasing public sentiment or retail FOMO. It's embedding itself in real systems with measurable economic impact. Every transaction processed through a Ripple-enabled bank account validates the technology and strengthens trust in the network. When DXC's partners, AWS, Dell, Google, IBM, Microsoft, and Oracle, are already working within these frameworks, Ripple's solutions gain instant credibility. Adoption here is not about speculation. It's about utility, efficiency, and compliance. Finally, let's discuss the competitive advantage. Many crypto projects aim for headlines and social media hype. Ripple focuses on execution and positioning. By bridging traditional finance with blockchain at scale, it is creating a moat that few competitors can match. Other projects might offer faster transactions or lower fees, but Ripple is doing something bigger. It's embedding itself into the financial infrastructure of the real world, something that takes decades for any project to achieve. In summary, this partnership represents a turning point. XRP is moving from a purely speculative asset to a practical tool for institutional finance. RLUSD is demonstrating stable utility, and Ripple is proving that blockchain can integrate seamlessly with existing systems without disruption. Banks, fintechs, and regulators are now paying attention, and this is why deals like this are far more important than any short-term price spike, and why it could fundamentally reshape global banking infrastructure. One of the most important things to understand is that legacy banking systems are slow, expensive, and inefficient. They were not designed for instant settlement or global scale. Cross-border transactions often take days and cost significant fees. For banks handling trillions of dollars, even small inefficiencies multiply into billions in lost opportunities or unnecessary costs. That's where Ripple comes in. By providing real-time settlement and cross-border liquidity through XRP and RLUSD, Ripple gives banks the ability to modernize without replacing their entire system. This is exactly why DXC's Hogan core banking integration is so significant. It allows existing operations to stay intact while upgrading the underlying infrastructure. Think about the numbers again. 300 million accounts and $5 trillion in deposits are suddenly connected to blockchain-enabled solutions. That's not a small pilot program. That's full-scale access to a network where banks can manage custody, transfer, and settlement in near real time. What this does is reduce friction, lower costs, and improve transparency for both the banks and their clients. When you consider that traditional cross-border transactions can take multiple days and cost up to 3 to 5% in fees, the efficiency gains are massive. Ripple is giving banks a way to stay competitive while simultaneously integrating with blockchain. This is also a major point in favor of XRP itself. Many people see XRP as just a trading asset, but in reality, it's a liquidity bridge. As more banks adopt Ripple's rails, the demand for XRP grows naturally. Institutions need it to move value across different currencies quickly and efficiently. Pair this with RLUSD for stable transactions, and you have a system that works for both settlement and daily banking needs. This dual approach addresses two of the biggest barriers to institutional adoption: volatility and infrastructure risk. Eric Trump's recent comments about banks trying to block crypto legislation are also very relevant here. For decades, traditional financial institutions benefited from inefficiencies, delayed settlements, controlled liquidity, and opaque systems, and blockchain threatens those advantages. But Ripple isn't trying to destroy the system. It's offering banks a path to upgrade without disruption. This is a key reason why institutional partnerships are increasing. Banks aren't resisting blockchain outright anymore. They are learning to adopt it strategically. Regulation plays a pivotal role in all of this. Ripple has consistently positioned itself as a compliance-first blockchain. The DXC partnership is proof of that. Banks won't touch blockchain solutions that create legal or operational risk. By integrating RLUSD and XRP in a regulated, secure environment, Ripple demonstrates that blockchain can meet existing financial standards while still providing innovation. Upcoming legislation and Senate Banking Committee clarity could accelerate adoption even further, allowing more banks to experiment and deploy Ripple technology at scale. Another factor to consider is the global reach. Ripple is not just working in one country or region. Its solutions are designed for cross-border payments, which are notoriously slow and expensive with traditional rails. By enabling near-instant settlement between institutions worldwide, Ripple is solving a problem that has existed for decades. This is why its partnerships with major enterprise IT providers like DXC are so crucial. They bring not just technology, but credibility and access to a global network of banks and financial institutions. We also need to talk about the competitive landscape. Many crypto projects promise faster or cheaper payments, but few have the enterprise relationships, regulatory compliance, and global scale that Ripple now commands. By embedding XRP and RLUSD into existing banking platforms, Ripple creates a moat that is extremely difficult for competitors to replicate. Other projects may have technology, but they lack institutional trust and integration, which is exactly what drives long-term adoption. Finally, let's consider adoption trajectory. Deals like this are not about immediate market hype. They are about positioning for years of growth. Each bank that integrates Ripple rails increases network effects, improves liquidity, and validates the system's reliability. As more banks adopt, more financial products can be built on top, creating a self-reinforcing cycle. This is why infrastructure-first strategies outperform speculation in the long term, and why XRP could become a central asset in institutional finance rather than just a trading token. Let's shift our focus to the impact on retail users, small businesses, and global remittances, because this is where Ripple's strategy becomes even more impressive. While large banks and Fortune 500 IT providers are integrating Ripple for enterprise purposes, the ripple effect, pun intended, reaches everyday users as well. Traditionally, cross-border payments for individuals and small businesses have been slow, costly, and cumbersome. Sending money internationally often takes days, with fees ranging from 3% to 10% depending on the corridor. For freelancers, small exporters, or migrant workers, these costs are significant. Ripple changes that dynamic by enabling near-instant settlement with XRP and stablecoins like RLUSD, reducing costs dramatically. Take remittances, for example. Millions of people worldwide rely on sending money to family members in other countries. Ripple's technology allows those transfers to be processed in seconds instead of days and at a fraction of the cost. This is not just a convenience. It is a financial inclusion breakthrough. Families get more of their money, small businesses can pay suppliers faster, and individuals gain access to financial tools they didn't have before. XRP is the bridge asset that enables fast conversion between local currencies, while RLUSD provides the stability needed for everyday transactions. Another area to highlight is small business adoption. Small and medium-sized enterprises often struggle with international trade because traditional payment systems are slow and unpredictable. By integrating Ripple, these businesses can leverage instant cross-border payments without worrying about currency volatility or complicated banking setups. This lowers operational friction and opens global markets that were previously difficult to access. For many small companies, this could mean the difference between scaling globally or staying local. Now let's talk about trust and compliance because this is crucial for real adoption. Many people assume blockchain is only about anonymity or decentralization, but real-world adoption requires regulatory alignment. Banks, businesses, and governments cannot risk non-compliance. Ripple's approach with RLUSD and XRP ensures transactions are auditable, traceable, and compliant with financial regulations. This builds confidence in the system, allowing even conservative institutions and users to participate. Without compliance, adoption stalls. Ripple recognizes this and executes accordingly. We should also examine the network effect. Each new bank, business, or payment provider that integrates Ripple increases the liquidity and utility of XRP. The more participants, the faster value moves, and the more cost-efficient the network becomes. For retail users, this means lower transaction fees, faster transfers, and access to stable digital assets without the volatility risk. Over time, this creates a virtuous cycle. As adoption grows, network efficiency improves, which in turn attracts even more participants. Furthermore, Ripple's partnerships with enterprise IT providers like DXC help scale these solutions globally. DXC connects Ripple to some of the largest banking networks and corporations worldwide, providing both reach and credibility. This is critical because many blockchain projects struggle to gain adoption beyond small pilots. Ripple bypasses this problem by embedding itself in the existing financial ecosystem, making it ready for real-world use today, not in some distant future. It's also worth noting the broader implications for global payments infrastructure. Traditional banking rails are expensive, slow, and often opaque. Ripple introduces transparency and efficiency at scale. For instance, a bank using Ripple can reconcile transactions in near real time, reducing operational costs, preventing errors, and cutting out middlemen. This efficiency translates to cost savings, better service for customers, and improved financial inclusion worldwide. Finally, consider the strategic positioning. Ripple is not competing directly with every blockchain project. It focuses on practical adoption, enterprise integration, regulatory compliance, and utility for real-world payments. While others chase hype, Ripple quietly builds the rails that move actual money. XRP and RLUSD are simply tools in that system, designed to facilitate liquidity, settlement, and stable transfers. By solving real problems for both banks and users, Ripple strengthens its case as the leading blockchain solution for global payments, positioning itself to dominate long-term adoption. First, consider the scale of adoption we've discussed so far. With the DXC partnership connecting 300 million accounts and $5 trillion in deposits, Ripple is no longer just a project. It's an active player in the enterprise financial ecosystem. This level of integration creates organic demand for XRP because the token is used as a settlement bridge between different currencies and digital assets. The more banks and enterprises adopt Ripple's rails, the greater the need for XRP liquidity. This is adoption-driven growth, which is fundamentally different from speculation-driven price pumps. Now let's think about market cap potential. Currently, XRP sits at around $7 billion, while Ripple's competitors like XRP Ledger's institutional peers have significantly higher market caps. If Ripple continues to expand partnerships, integrate with more banks, and see global adoption for real-time payments and stablecoin settlements, the market cap potential could multiply many times over. Some analysts project scenarios where XRP could easily move toward $50 billion to $100 billion market cap in the medium term, and if global adoption accelerates over the next 3 to 5 years, the long-term upside could be even larger. These numbers are not based on hype, but on realistic adoption metrics and financial infrastructure scaling. Liquidity evolution is another critical factor. With large institutions adopting XRP for settlement, we could see massive liquidity entering the network, making it easier for banks and enterprises to move money efficiently. Higher liquidity reduces price volatility, increases trust, and makes XRP a preferred medium for cross-border transactions. Stablecoins like RLUSD further support this ecosystem, allowing institutions to transact in a stable, auditable, and compliant manner. Combined, XRP and RLUSD create a dual-layer solution that works for both liquidity and stability, a combination many other blockchain projects lack. Regulatory clarity will also play a pivotal role in long-term growth. Ripple has consistently engaged with regulators to show that XRP can operate within compliance frameworks, bridging traditional finance and digital assets safely. With legislation like the Clarity Act potentially passing and more banks adopting Ripple technology, we could see a surge in institutional trust. Trust is everything for financial infrastructure. Without it, adoption stalls. Ripple's compliance-first approach strengthens its credibility, which is essential for scaling global adoption. Another key advantage is Ripple's practical positioning in the market. Unlike projects chasing hype or focusing solely on DeFi or NFTs, Ripple targets real-world financial problems, cross-border payments, liquidity bridges, tokenized assets, and stablecoin adoption. This positions XRP at the intersection of innovation and necessity. Every transaction, every settlement, and every stablecoin transfer demonstrates value beyond speculation. It's this tangible utility that differentiates XRP from other cryptocurrencies and gives it long-term staying power. Finally, we have to consider Ripple's broader ecosystem impact. The DXC deal, combined with partnerships with major corporations like Amazon, Google, IBM, and Microsoft, shows Ripple's ability to embed itself in existing systems. This means that Ripple is not just building a network for crypto enthusiasts, it's building the rails for global finance, enabling banks, fintechs, and small businesses to operate more efficiently. The cumulative effect of this adoption is network growth, higher liquidity, and stronger institutional trust, all of which could drive both XRP's utility and valuation over time. To summarize, Ripple is no longer about speculation or market hype. It's about building the infrastructure that moves trillions of dollars in a compliant, efficient, and scalable way. XRP serves as the liquidity bridge, RLUSD provides stability, and Ripple's partnerships ensure adoption at scale. Institutional integration, regulatory clarity, and network effects are all aligned to position Ripple for long-term success. For anyone holding XRP or watching the sector, the key takeaway is simple. This is infrastructure-driven growth, and the real gains come from adoption, not short-term price swings. If you've been following the channel, you know we focus on smart money moves and real adoption metrics, not just hype. Ripple is proving that large-scale partnerships, regulatory alignment, and practical utility can redefine the crypto space. Whether you're an XRP holder, a fintech professional, or someone simply interested in how blockchain is transforming finance, this is a moment worth paying attention to. The technology, the partnerships, and the regulatory engagement all point to a future where Ripple and XRP are central to global payments, not just a token on an exchange.